Hello guys, welcome back to a new video. So today we're going to be talking about why the media should be defunded. Now, why the media should be defunded is a quite simple argument. That the media is supposed to make the government accountable. So paying the media money is just going to mean that they pamper the government. I'll take John Key. They were treating him like a golden child. Well, some of his morals and ethics are completely stupid and are just selfish, full of himself. That's what John Key was. He wasn't actually a good leader. He might have been good in business, but just because you're a good businessman doesn't mean you're a good leader. Because there's more to the world than money. Morals are also extremely important to how one lives. One does not just select. Now, I understand you don't want too much of an oligarchy, but you don't want people to just select as their free. Because the thing is, you can use many arguments to say, oh, well, Hitler was using freedom to genocide 6 million people. It's his choice. Well, it's morally incorrect. You have to think about other things than yourself. You're not the only person in the world, and the media needs to understand that pampering, that New Zealand actually needs to allow opposition and opinions. Because in New Zealand we have a massive problem where you basically, if the majority opinion is winning, if you do not agree with the majority opinion, you are treated like, I don't know, if you're Irish in the Irish famine. Have some effing respect for people who actually have morals. Because New Zealand, the major parties have completely lost their loop of where the voters are. Labour's going to lose heaps of votes in South Auckland because people in South Auckland have morals. And they know that that is not morally correct. A lot of the things Labour's done. Just ending vaccine mandates isn't good enough. You have to bring the jobs back for those people. If you're saying care about the poor, why are you taxing poor? But because the media is funded, the media pampers the government. New Zealand Herald is basically, it's like, the teacher's pet. They just do whatever the teacher wants. Well, that's not the point of a government, of media. The media is supposed to make government accountable, which completely butchers what the point of the media is. We actually need opposition opinions, because otherwise we just have this dictatorial oligarchy that basically sits out how everyone else lives, even if it's morally correct or not, which a lot of the morals in the major two parties are moralless. Like National, they might be good at producing an economy, but they're terrible at distributing wealth. Labour, on its social issues, is pro-death. Pro-euthanasia, which is also pro-death. The majority of New Zealanders now would classify themselves as they don't care about life. So, my question for that is, why do you care so much about yourself? The world population is not one. Do you not understand that? It's quite simple. Don't just care about yourself. It's not about collective, it's not about individual, it's about family. So people need to get more family focused here. Because in New Zealand, most people are not family focused. They say they're family focused, but they're individual focused. They only care about what they think. They don't think about what's morally correct. They don't care about what's good for other people. They just care about, I need to think about myself, or my, or the majority opinion. And the problem with that is that you have no accountability for the government. Which, I'll take the New Zealand firearms law. There was zero accountability for that. Maybe that was going a step too far, banning fully automatics. But because the government has complete authority over the media. They were not allowed to criticise them once. And I certainly don't like David Seymour and everything. He's pretty much Margaret Thatcher 2.0, or rich kid that gets into politics and only cares about himself, but, and, you know, at least he makes the government somewhat accountable. Because the problem with New Zealand is that whatever is perceived to be the most fair, if you disagree with that thing, bye-bye, good night. You know, we're gonna hide you in the closet, you better stay quiet. You know, that's what, you know, you're basically told off for voicing concerns and issues which the population doesn't care about. But the problem with that is that just because it's the majority opinion does not mean it is morally or ethically correct. 37% of people voted for Adolf Hitler, so if you guys are saying that means Adolf Hitler was ethically allowed to kill 6 million Jews for basically his choice. It's not ethically correct. You actually have to care about more than yourself. You're not the centre of the world's attention. Yeah. And you actually do need to allow taboo subjects which people think you're not allowed to talk about, or you're not allowed to discuss about. First of all, that is one. Yes, there are some taboo subjects, but some of the subjects that are taboo actually don't need to be taboo. Like, why don't you actually allow people? It doesn't matter if you don't like the opinion. It doesn't matter if you find it. As long as you're not actually infringing on people's rights, which a lot of the time people just saying someone's infringing on someone's rights, they're basically just saying, I don't like you, but I'm going to use big fancy language to say, I don't like you. So I'm going to tell you off for not liking you. Which is basically a big middle finger. Which the media is like perfectly fine with. But I'll just take an Australian dude, I forgot his name, he's like Rebel News Australia. He wasn't allowed to enter the country because he was trying to make the anti-government protest fair, reasonable. You know, New Zealanders say they care about so much about fairness. That is a joke. You guys don't even allow the media, the government, to be accountable. You know, that's something like China would do, is not make the government accountable. Something North Korea would do. We are a first world country. Do you guys not understand what democracy is? Look it up in a book. Democracy is not, what I want is democracy. No, democracy, you know, a country is founded on family. What family morals does New Zealand have at the moment? Not very much of it. Not very much of it. And that is a huge problem that we can't allow the government to be accountable, because, you know, no one's perfect. I'm certainly not perfect, and I know that. Stop typing that you're perfect, you're not. Get over it. Stop trying to be a Veruca Salt. You're not some fantastic. This isn't Alice in Wonderland. This is planet Earth. You know, get over yourself. You know, I just think that we need to bring morals back in society, not just what people want. Because at the moment, young people, you know, in school, you are not taught any morals in a public school. I can tell you when I was in a public school, you know, spreading rumours, lying, cheating, you know, doing anything bad was good. But if you tried to make them accountable for their actions and say, stop doing that, they would enforce and use totalitarian measures to basically just punish you as much as they could. You know, how about the government stop trying to enforce its views on religion? We don't have freedom of religion. People can't express their religious views. The government needs to have accountability. Who is there to actually come for New Zealanders? We have to look to die for Destiny Church to, you know, make the government accountable. We have to look at a die from the Destiny. Now, I'm Roman Catholic, so of course I'm not hugely, abundantly supportive of them. But We had to die from the Destiny Church just to make the government somewhat accountable. And, I don't mind him. He's not the best person in the world. I'd agree with that. But it's completely silly saying that we have free press. America has more free press than New Zealand. They are actually allowed to talk against the government. That's why defunding the media needs to be a key issue in New Zealand. But National and Labour won't do it because they're both a bunch of rich upper middle class people that only care about themselves. I could prove it time and time again. The media just pats them on the back when they know they're not doing something right. And then, maybe when they're in a bit of bad, maybe we should, no, paycheck. Your paycheck should be by donations, not by taxpayer dollars that could be used on far more useful things. We have a lot more useful things to do in this country, like help out the poor, care for the needy, protect family, faith, and the pursuit of happiness, Like actual morals. If we're calling ourselves a free country, well, we're not. If we can't even allow the press to be free, which they clearly aren't, and those international rankings of New Zealand's press are rigged. They're just done by a bunch of rich oligarchies that only care for themselves. So, just it. I'm not saying all rich people care for themselves. A lot of them are very moralistic. It's just a lot of them really aren't, and are only centered about their world beliefs, because apparently more money gives you more authority. Well, look, it doesn't. You can be rich and be a terrible person. You can be poor and be a terrible person. You can be rich and be a good person. You can be a poor and be a good person. It just depends, does one take morals, above himself? Which a lot of people tend to not do in society, which is deeply, deeply saddening to our Lord. And, maybe think outside of the box of what helps me and my niche friend club. Because the world population is not just you and your 10 friends. It's not like last time I checked, the whole population of the world is not, 11 on such as 80% of the 0.8 tons. I'll have to check. Top of my head, like 800 or 900, 1,100 people is not the world's population. You actually have to care about other people than yourself. That's not that controversial. Just allow other people to be able to speak. That's not. Now, I'm not saying about extreme beliefs, because I'm not extreme. My beliefs aren't extreme. Don't call them extreme. None of my beliefs are very extreme. I'm just going based on what my heritage thinks. I'm going based on what my forefathers teach me. I know from mother to father to mother to, father to son to father to son to father to son. It's not, I'm different than my parent. I have to do the complete opposite. Because if you say, we need to progress as much as we can, well, as we're looking at now, every step that we take is a step closer to a communist society when the government is an oligarchy and has complete authority. Which is why defunding the media is extremely important to uphold moral principle. Moral principle is above the individual, is above the collective. Because if you just allow people, the problem with the collective is, if you have a collectivist society, no one can speak up. Like, I'll just say something. If, say if the government does something wrong in a socialist or communist country, you are not allowed to say they do something bad. or you have restringements on saying they did something bad. Like, say if they purposely were fraudulent and took money for themselves, and, you're not allowed to say, oh, yeah, no. No, you're thrown in jail for basically saying the government did something bad, and then, it's not what and then the media is just controlled by government. Now, you don't want an other society where everyone can do as they think, because the world is not about the individual, it's not about the collective, it's actually about the family, and people need to get family principles. It's not about oneself. Why do you think young people are so depressed? Because they either are extremely collectivist or extremely individualist. None of those two pillars work. Think outside of yourself. You're not the only one. Eh? Alright, that's enough for the video. Good luck to you guys. I'll see you next time.